60-hour work week job, I've decided to do the program 5 days a week, 1 hour a night, taking a significant pay cut. So I've started a Patreon page, which is Patreon, Patreon/SportsScope, spelled the same way at the bottom of the screen you see there. For $5 a month, 17 cents a day, you can help support the program. You ask yourself, why SportsScope? Well, I bring in such big names such as Al Borges, former Auburn offensive coordinator, and I cover the big news in sports that the corporate media will not cover. If you want to contribute more than $5 a month, you can go use the Cash App. The cash tag is SportsScope, again spelled the same way, or you can go to the Zelle app, sportscope@gmail.com. SportsScope has about 5,000 followers and growing. If you want to advertise on the program, you can email me. The word is SportsScope, spelled the same way again, at gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the program. Okay, everybody, now here I'm live on all links. Welcome to SportsScope on this 22nd day. I don't know where I get 22nd at. 17th day of October, Monday. I know we got a big game coming up here in just a few minutes. I like the Chargers to win this game over Denver, but hey, I don't know. I've been wrong before. I was wrong a few times this weekend in NFL. I did nail the college game, and I will get to college tomorrow. I know Tennessee had a historical day in their program, taking down the goalposts. Plus, on Wednesday, Pickles, I saw you pop up there. I will have current Tennessee baseball player, Kavarius Tears, University of Tennessee baseball player, Kavarius Tears, on my program for a second time. He's coming back on. I want to ask him about how his freshman year went. He's into his sophomore year. Very good chance to play for what was last year and possibly this year the number one team in the country preseason, University of Tennessee baseball. And I'm going to ask him about this buzz from the football side of things around campus. There were some preseason odds of polls of what the odds would be, and polls potentially University of Tennessee basketball can be in the top 20. The University of Tennessee football currently is number 3 in the nation. And I wanted to ask him about all this buzz going on around campus, NIL. I'm going to ask him about, again, how his sophomore year is going and what's his chances and of playing. What does he think is going to look like? So I did want to get that announcement out of the way real quick. And as far as the NFL is concerned, and that's all I'm really going to get with today, is the NFC, in my opinion, is wide open. I mean, it is wide open now. I know the Eagles look good today. If it were today, yeah, they would probably be my favorite to get into the Super Bowl if the playoffs started October what is today? The 21st or something, or the 22nd, if the playoffs started October 22nd, hypothetical, yeah, I'd probably pick the Eagles in the NFC, but they don't start the 22nd, and they actually kind of remind me of the Arizona Cardinals last year, except they have a better offensive line there, and Hurts is not quite the passer of a Kyler Murray. But going back to the NFC, it's wide open. A lot of bad teams, a lot of average teams. If you really think about it, teams like Atlanta coming into the season and teams like Seattle coming into the season, at this point, I figured they would probably have 3 wins top between them. 3 wins. I want to say Atlanta's already got 2, and I know Seattle's got 2 that I know of. And possibly 1 win, if you think about it. You really think about it, those 2 teams. But now you're starting to look at teams. Look how bad the game was on Thursday. And just a lot of really bad football, particularly in the NFC, a lot of big injuries. in the NFC. Now, that was a good football game. Now, Sunday night, that was really good. That was really crisp. Sunday afternoon with the Bills and the Chiefs, that was really, really a crisp there. That was a crisp football game on both sides. But there's a lot of bad around the league. I mean, just left tackles out. Note Boone is out for torn Achilles for the Rams for the season. The Rams, Cam Akers, by the way, pretty much played his last down. He'll either be traded or cut. Same thing when I saw what Robbie Anderson getting into it with the receivers coach to that degree, and what was said afterwards. He's not playing again. Now he's already been traded to the Arizona Cardinals. Looked like Hollywood Brown may be injured for a while too as well. So just a lot of injuries, just a lot of bad football. There was some good football. Eagles was good. Eagles-Dallas was good. Actually watched the whole thing. But I guess I'll talk about the best first. Buffalo played a complete game, contrary to what it may look like. If you just watch glimpses of Buffalo, Kansas City, like I did, because I was watching on Red Zone, I'll go back to the game, I'll go back to Red Zone. It looked like a choppy game, but the truth of the matter is they played really good football. I mean, Buffalo, they only gave up 47 yards rushing. They got 3 sacks. This is on the road, by the way. So they held Kansas City to 20 points. They got 3 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. They had 2 interceptions. And they held the Chiefs to 47 yards rushing. And at one point, they were down in this game for a good chunk of this game. Mahomes was patient. But you got to give a guy like Leslie Frazier, these guys don't get enough credit for the work they put in because we're in such a highly offensive mindset right now. If you look at the college game, Tennessee in college was 52-49. You look at some of the pro games have been way up there. Seattle and Detroit a few weeks ago was pretty close to that. And I thought this game would do that. If you look at the weather up there in Kansas City, you look at the Josh Allen weapons, you look at the Patrick Mahomes weapons, and both coordinators. Now, mind you that the coordinator for the Chiefs, this guy's got 3 Super Bowl rings as a coordinator. He's got 3 rings as a coordinator, 2 with the Giants, and he's got 1 with the Chiefs, and he had a well of a game. But Devin Singletary, check this out. Singletary, we're always talking about the running game. 17 carries, that's a lot for him. 85 yards, 4 catches, 22 yards. Bills continue to work on the running game. Win 24-20. It was like a playoff game atmosphere. Everybody stayed up a little bit later competing. It was like that big test for both teams. And we saw what happened. Look at the points gave up. They gave up 30 to the Raiders at home. On Monday, had a shorter week and only gave up 24 to one of the more prolific offenses in the league, led by Josh Allen. So it was the attention to detail in that game by the coaches, by the staff. It was really impressive. Everybody was studying for the big test. The exam is everyone. And that's what I like about the NFL. You especially I'm putting together either my fantasy team, especially when I was really serious, more serious in the fantasy, study all week, and then my exam will come up on Sunday or Saturday if it was a playoff, right? So that was a really good game there. Thought it was going to be some more scoring in an age where we are now, where there's so much protection on the quarterbacks. By the way, another observation. Did you guys see any roughing the passer penalties? I didn't see hardly any. I didn't see, matter of fact, I watched, I took a little bit of a nap during the, from halftime of game 1 to game 2, but I didn't read anything from the noon central to 3 o'clock. anything about crazy roughing the passer calls. They quietly, the refs quietly were notified, this don't get crazy. We overreacted from the Tua hit. By the way, Tua will be back this week. He's fine. He's fine. We overreacted. I know Lane Johnson went out for Philadelphia, their right tackle. But everything was okay. It's not the end of the world. And there was no roughing. I didn't see any roughing call. If it was, I missed it. It was nothing like last week. But that's how the NFL does. But Buffalo, that was a complete game. They play like that. Nobody will be able to touch them. Nobody will be able to touch them. They can add some more to it. Dawson Knox involved. Even their leading receiver, who has not had a big game against this team since playing them. The leading receiver, the number one receiver there, Stephon Diggs, he has not had that kind of game since this Mahomes-Allen matchup. But he had a good game, and a lot of that was precision passing by Josh Allen. But those really, and here's something to think about just by watch Stephon Diggs. Thank you, Pickle. Here's something to watch about. This is food for thought because the NFC's so bad. That Bears-Washington game, was that watchable, folks? Really? Was that watchable? And I like Kyler Murray, but was that Seattle? That Seattle-Arizona game watchable? Some of these games are just Carolina. It's hard to watch any game Carolina's in. Atlanta and San Francisco, there was a little bit of score. Marcus Mariota is one of the most boringest NFL quarterbacks to ever play. Can't throw a ball short. He does just enough to stay on the field, and very unwatchable. And watching a guy like Jalen Hurts just run up the middle every time with himself and that big offensive line, push people out of the way, that's unwatchable. It's hard to watch. So my thing is, maybe, just maybe, the NFL should take out conferences. You could still have divisions. Actually, you could still have conferences, but here, check this out. We talked about this. Corey popped up there. Good to see you. This has been discussed in NBA circles for years. How about don't have the Super Bowl, NFC, AFC? Just have the Super Bowl, the two best teams with the two best records. Strength of schedule, if tiebreakers, two best records. Because Buffalo, Kansas City is probably the two best teams out there. Those are two best quarterbacks. The coaching, Leslie Frazier. People talk about Steve Spagnuolo, I think is his name, for Kansas City. But Frazier, I mean, that defense is good too with Buffalo. Buffalo is top 5 in both categories. They're top 5 in both offense and defense. Yards per play, you name it. I think they're actually number 1 in total offense. But I would be a fan of that. Just make it, you don't have to be NFC. Just make the two best teams, the two best records. And now if they eliminate each other, but that probably won't happen because only way that would happen if they're in the same division. The two best teams will be in the Super Bowl. People says, yeah, but that's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I just think now there's now I don't want to overreact because the most Super Bowls per division is out of the NFC East, and the NFC East looks like the NFC West last year, and NFC West looks like the NFC East about 3 years ago when I think the winner had like a 9-8 record or 8-8 record. And if you're going to go back 15 years before that, the winner of the NFC West before Russell Wilson was drafted to Seattle, I want to say the Matt Hasselbeck team was like 7-9 or something like that, and they won a playoff game because they had. But you put the two best teams. It's food for thought because I know NFC will eventually get better quarterback play, but Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, they're looking like guys that are older. You know, they're looking like guys that are making well over $20 million. We know there's big time players, but they're starting to show their age, even though Brady has just such a bad offensive line. I mean, man, are they bad. Just okay. So let me get back on track here. I sometimes I digress and I just straight up start talking about stuff that that really gets me out of whack here. You know, and I'll say that Dallas game, the Eagles are plus 12 in giveaway takeaway, which means they're taking the ball away 12 times more than they're giving it away. Playing really good football right now, I have to say. The team is really well put together. Cooper Rush had 3 interceptions targeting guys like Lamb and Michael Gallup. And I say those 2 names because he should have picked this up in scouting, that you stay away from their top corners. They're the top tandem in the league. And I said that could happen coming into the preseason. And when you've got Slay and Bradbury, who the Giants lost and still playing well because of a cap casualty, because Gettleman jacked their cap up, but they got him for nothing, for a song, like the old saying was, they got him for a song, James Bradbury, and they made a trade about 3 years ago with the god-awful defensive Detroit Lions and stole Darius Slay, and they got 2 really good corners. So the only way you can beat them is through the middle with your tight end, and that their tight end was one of the only few scores that they made in the passing game, and that wasn't even Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz didn't even play that game. That was the backup tight end. But after you, if you just watch part of that game and did not look at the box score and the actual, because you listen to the crowd. By the way, Jamie Paggs, who was on Sports Scope a few weeks ago, also with the Northeast Streaming Sports, guy got a lot of camera time yesterday. His picture was trending on the internet, and I got to mention that to Jamie. Hopefully, said he's going to be in town Saturday. I'll stop by and give him a birthday present that I told him I was going to got a souvenir for him related to the Eagles. But he's a super fan I've had on the program a couple of weeks ago. And that guy got a bunch of camera time. He got a bunch. There's him, and he had the paint on. He's sitting on the front row, and a Dallas Cowboy fan, which was a mascot, built-up mascot beside him. Very funny for Jamie Paggs. But anyways, I digress. Really good game, though. Really good game. But if you just look at parts of this game and watch it in, like, if you're just kind of, if it's Sunday night and you're cleaning up your house, your apartment, you would think that Philadelphia was totally running off with it. And by score-wise, they were 20-0 at halftime. But you start breaking down the yards. I bet you guys could not guess on what the yardage was for rushing for both teams. You would think, man, it's got to be like 255 to 23 or 40, 50 tops. No. Nope. That game was Dallas rushed for 134 yards and Philadelphia for 136. What about yards per play? Had to be dominant by Philadelphia. Had to be. Nope. Dallas 4.9, 3.9 for Philadelphia. Philly had 39 rush attempts to Dallas's 26.3, and they only outrushed the Cowboys by 2 yards. And they had 10 penalties. Now, this is Dallas. Now, this is on the road. They had 10 penalties, 72 yards. Had a few questionable calls there. And Cooper Rush just had the 3 turnovers. You take out 10 penalties for 72 yards, take out 2 of those 3 turnovers, Dallas wins that game. Dallas wins that game. But what I did really learn from that, by the way, the Cooper Rush thing's over. It's over, by the way. Dak will be back next week, and I agree. I think it should be. I think that pass rush, he can elude it and step off the throws there. Not unless Dak goes in there and really screws things up. But I think he had a wake up call. Hey man, this guy could take your job, you know. And I think the Dallas Cowboys, once they go back and watch the film, they're going to say, we need to be more of a running team. We need to run till the dad takes the T-Bird away. I know the song. It's an old school Beach Boys song. Fun till the dad takes the T-Bird. But the Dallas Cowboys, with their pass rush and defense, they just need to run a little bit more and don't be so careless with the football, and they would be fine. But yeah, Pickle says this was the Jeremy Lin of football, Corey. Jeremy Lin had 2 weeks where he was the greatest thing since sliced bread and got a huge contract. This guy had a month. But when I saw that game, what it tells me is, and Keelan Moore saw this, Jerry Jones, happy 80th belated birthday. He turned 80 on Thursday. The problem with this is the team does not abandon the run game early, and they still have chances to win. They still have chances to win if they cut their penalties down, which have been down prior to Sunday night. If they can beat anybody in the NFC, especially in the NFC. You saw that. But Philadelphia, Rosenthal, I forgot his first name. I think it's Ken Rosenthal. Their general manager has knocked it out of the park, man. Those players he's picked up, Jordan Davis, that cornerback, A.J. Brown, who always seems to be open, and keeping that line together, even though they're getting older. Lane Johnson had a concussion. They've done a really good job. They've done a really good job. And they're making you throw to your third option and your tight end. They make you throw to your Mr. Lurie's the owner. Jeffrey Lurie's the owner. And he was standing up there. He looked frustrated in his nice suit, Yeah, if starter was in, Cowboys had them. That is true. I mean, if they don't press as much as they do, the crowd was really into your Jamies of the world. Man, they were really into this. And they should have been. That was a good game. It's a really good game. But that line is so good. That is so good. But at the end of the day, they stayed patient because they had Cooper Rush. If they're a little bit more disciplined on their penalties, I think that is probably this game could have went the other way. For one thing, they're forcing once they just said, we're just going to run it because we really can't throw it anyways, instead of throwing that ball to, was it Noah Brown? Which I was really hoping he would get it. I had him on a parlay, but it didn't work out. Just use some power football and see what we can do with this run game. I think they would have had more success there. But that being said, hey, Philly's really put well together. Jalen Hurts is not making any mistakes out there. He's as good as he's going to be. Not a hater. I'm just calling it like I see it. And it's going to take a lot to beat that team. It's going to take a lot to beat in the NFC, perhaps. They wouldn't match up against Buffalo. They would be underdogs against Buffalo and Kansas City, especially Buffalo. But they are better than I thought they were. They deserve the win. They didn't turn it over. They caused the 3 turnovers. Their penalties were like 3. Nothing big on their spot. And they got caught locking up some guys. and like that went the other way. But Cooper Rush threw the ball. He threw the interception. But Dallas, you're a power running team first. You're a power running team second. Then you got to throw the ball. Then you got to throw because you got a really good defense, and you have that defense and run can carry you. You have to make the right throw at the right time, and they're healthy at receiver finally. Gallup's got a few games in under his belt. Plus, you've got CD Lamb, but I like that Noah Brown guy. But they've got to get Schultz back. If not, they're going to have to get another tight end. But, hey, look, man, it is what it is. And Philadelphia don't blink. They don't blink. The way I play a team like Philadelphia is I'm hugging up on the line of scrimmage, and I'm telling everybody in meetings and on the way up to that game, I'm telling everybody we're probably going to give up a big play to a Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. We may give up a 75-yard touchdown pass to Noah Brown or to A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. But we're going to make Jalen Hurts beat us from the pocket. He's not going to read option all day. We're going to run blitz all day. We're going to rotate 8 guys through there, and we're going to see you read these defenses and make that throw. And we're going to play field position. We're going to play field position. I'm reading this book about the special teams coach, Mike Westhoff. I'm 300 pages into it. I've got 400 pages. And it hasn't dawned on me. Now I'm 41 years old. I watch a lot of football. I watch almost as much as these coaches do, right? And the one thing I know by watching every play in that college game in Tennessee and Florida, for example, that Alabama had to drive the length of the field, and Tennessee scored like that. Alabama had to drive. The more you make a team drive, and this is what's been a big problem. This has been a big knock on the 49ers. When you make a team have to do a 12-play drive, it wears your defense out. Here's what people are not telling you. What a Mike Westhoff will tell you. You punt that ball good, and you get that ball down inside their 20, preferably inside the 5 or 10. You make them do it constantly 12 to 15 play drive. You know what's going to happen? Delay of games, holding, interception, drop, pumble. Those are more of a chance of that than anything. Then those splash plays. That's where the term take the top off the defense. That's why everybody needs a speedster. Everybody, and they have one. They have 2 in Philadelphia. And that's why they have 2 in Kansas City. Marquez Valdez-Scantlin's a speedster. The free agent that they got from Green Bay, and then you got Miko Hartman, who was a speedster originally supposed to take the place of Tyreek Hill, because remember they thought Tyreek Hill was going to be in trouble a few years ago and get suspended. But if you make a team go those long drives throughout the game, I guarantee you they're going to make some mistakes. I guarantee you they're going to make some mistakes. You're going to be able to hit them behind the line of scrimmage. They're going to run the same play over. Your defense is going to remember it. They're going to remember what they're doing, and you're going to give up tackle. They're going to give up tackles for loss, penalties, you name it. Make them earn it all the way. Make them earn it all. That's why the cover 2 was so successful for so long for a team like Tampa. From 95 when Tony Dungy took over there. Now, problem is they didn't have any quarterbacks. And then when they got John Gruden, they won, but this guy was not a franchise quarterback. But you make them drive that field, something bad's going to happen. You make them do that long, long drive. And that's been the big knock on a 49er team. That because they just don't lack those. It's good to do those drives. You say you're taking the life out. No, you want less of those drives as you can. Now, you want to have those drives. Sometimes you want to do like a Peyton Manning will say, a 4-minute offense, a 5-minute where you take up the whole court. Well, odds are there's going to be problems that's going to happen. More often than not, you're going to have problems. So that's why field position is a big, big deal. That's just and you're thinking about it in the NFL or in football in general. You have 11 players. Then you're doing substitutions, illegal stuff. You're doing shifts. You got illegal shift. Holding's the worst, right? Offensive pass interference, which is not often called, but it is, happens all the time. Guys trying to save an interception. Well, that's 15 yards back. Holding's 10 yards back. You know? But on the other hand, like if you're not playing good, disciplined football defensively, you can give up spot foul. But my thing is, you want them to drive that field. We saw that in Kansas City, the best quarterbacks in the game. 24-20, because their kicking games and our defensive coordinators had a well of a week studying for the other. These guys can score 50 on anybody. I'll tell you how good Buffalo is. Tennessee's leading their division of 3-2 to the Titans, right? Buffalo put 41 on Tennessee before the fourth quarter. They literally benched their starters before the fourth quarter. They had 41 points in the NFL against a team that was a 1 seed the year prior to that. That's not normal, But they were held to 24 because of field position. Field position is a big deal. So it's a learning experience each week, guys. But, there's a lot of teams that are just having problems. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady should have stayed retired. He should have just stayed retired. Worst running game in the NFL. 32nd. You don't have to have the best running game. The Patriots never, air quote, had the best running game in the NFL when he was winning those Super Bowls with them. But they never had the worst. It was always like 15th. Running game, that term rushing can be disputed because you have the screen pass. But he was never 32nd. The Patriots are never 32nd in quote unquote handing the ball off to the running back. They were like 15th, 14th. But if you add in the bubble screens, they were more like 5th, 2nd, 1st. If you add in the two. But you're adding in screens with Brady, Leonard Fournette, for example. But they're averaging 67 yards a game. 67 yards a game. They played Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had their former defensive player of the year out of the game. They had all-pro level, Michael Fisk safety out of the game. They had their leading corner, Sutton, out of the game. Their quarterback was out of the game. They put in their other quarterback, and they still lost 20-18. And then I hear, on top of all that Tom Brady goes to, this is another thing. He should have just retired. He made a big mistake coming back, man. So Tom Brady goes to his former employer and guest friend now, Robert Kraft's wedding on Friday night in New York, I want to say, with Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, Roger Goodell, Elton, the commissioner of the NFL, Elton John, Bon Jovi, Ed Sheeran, who was a big-time singer from the UK. So you're trying to tell me he didn't have one drink and he skipped the walkthrough on Saturday with the worst running game in the NFL? Yes, he's the GOAT. Yes, he's got 6 rings. He's probably considered better than Jordan as far as the best team player of all time. But that's pretty disrespectful, man. Then you play one of the most banged up teams in the league with a mediocre quarterback, even though it was at their place. So he went to this thing Friday night. He couldn't get back Saturday for the walkthrough. He's bummed out about that ex-wife, his separation. He's trying to find another lady, Tiger, in the middle of the season, not to mention the fact that he's missed 11 days during training camp with this whole new offensive line, and he's over there chewing that offensive line a new rear end on the sideline like he did in the Bears game back in 2020 when they lost that game when he didn't even know what down it was. I like Tom Brady, but that doesn't immune him from criticism, and I do think it was Robert Kraft's pickles. It was the owner. He's married to a beautiful blonde-headed woman who married him for love. And all the wrong play. Maybe she did fall in love. Maybe they've known each other for a while, and it was about the money at first. Then they fell in love. So does this keep him out of massage parlors in Florida? That's the $64 billion question, perhaps, in his that you want to ask Robert Kraft. I'm not mad at Robert Kraft. He's living life. Sound like he's living a good life, you know. So he gets married. Meek Mill, the rapper's there. Pickles or Corey, he's there. Bon Jovi, Elton John. I mean, you know he was partying like a rock star on Friday night. Misses Saturday's walkthrough, and they get beat by the lowly Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's just the optics look bad for Brady. He is Brady. He is the man. We get all that. But Rex Ryan said there's no way in Hades that Belichick would let him go to some kind of function like that on game week. That is very un-Tom Brady-like. Now, there's been talks of maybe he's going through a midlife crisis and all that. And maybe so. That maybe so. I mean, the guy's been so focused so long for 20 plus years and playing at such a high level that maybe he's lost his mind and he didn't have any maybe he's lost his mind and now he's wanting to live it out all at once instead of maybe taking a break more than he should have during those other off seasons. My thing is he's probably grieving over her, and he's probably looking for another lady to help him, get over this really hardship with his wife. But either way, they look bad, man. They look bad. But he shouldn't be getting into this offensive line like that. I mean, he's hearing it. I think it's not over with. It's not over with because, like I said at the beginning of the program, the NFC's bad, man. I mean, they are bad. Other than the Eagles, Cowboys. I mean, you look at the Rams. The Rams won yesterday, but they've got their own problems. Joe Moboon has torn his Achilles. Their left tackle, who's replacing their left tackle, and Andrew Whitworth from the Super Bowl last year, he's done. Before the game started, Sean McVay said, and he didn't say it directly, but he said, I haven't had a situation like this. And an article I was reading talking about Cam Akers, since he's been I think he's been with the Rams for 6 years or something like that. So Cam Akers has taken his last down. There's probably been maybe some absentee. I don't know. Not missing blocks, not making workouts, not making your rehabs, your physical rehab. So there's a major issue there. With Cam Akers will not play again for the Rams, for what I read. And then you got Matt Stafford. This guy's got 8 interceptions. There's only been 6 games. He's got 8 interceptions. He's 30. Check this out. There's 32 teams in the NFL. He's 33rd. In other words, he's got more interceptions than these backups that are throwing bad. He's 33rd in that. He's the most sacked quarterback. Or he's either top 5, 1 or 2 every week, most sacked quarterback in the NFL, and they're in first place in the West. And they're in Seattle and Atlanta should have maybe 1 win between them at this point. And they both got multiple wins, you know. But so Cam Akers is done. There's drama there with him and the Rams. They need a left tackle. They're not satisfied with Allen Robinson, although he did get a touchdown yesterday. And they may bring back Odell Beckham at some point, right? The team they played, there was a blow up on the sideline with Carolina, by the way. So they play a team who fired their coach on Monday of last week, a week ago today. Then they turn around and let it be known that they're trying to trade their $16.5 million running back, Christian McCaffrey, who I said was a bad play. Don't pay this guy all that money. Don't pay most running backs you do not give a second contract to. I don't care if they're Jim Brown, Barry Sanders. Nowadays, with the cap the way it is, most running backs, my rule is don't give any of them. I don't care how good they are. And I made an argument, don't even give Derrick Henry one after that. But now he's already starting to get banged up. But I digress. So Christian McCaffrey, trading block. Robbie Anderson is going at it, man, with the receivers coach on the sideline. The head coach comes up to him, and the commentator says, "You're done." We could see Robbie's done. He's done for the day. He was traded this morning. I thought he was going to get cut, but he was traded this morning to Arizona. Robbie Anderson with Carolina. So they've new coach. We got a new coach coming in. Best offensive player, probably. Got him on the trading block. And they would love to get rid of Baker Mayfield, who's coming back. And Sam Darnold, who's already 2 busts in the same draft, the first overall pick and the 3rd overall pick. They'd love to get rid of them. But if I'm Carolina, I trade anybody. And we still got till November. We still got about 2 more weeks for the trade deadline's up. Used to be in October. Now it's pushed back. I would trade anybody not on a rookie contract in Carolina. That's how bad. They're already waving the white flag, man. 6 weeks in the season, they already got the white flag. This thing is a disaster. It's a big dumpster. It's got rubber in it. It's got a really bad rubber wood, raw wood smell, and it's shooting out flames and this bad odor all over the place. You know, that is the Carolina Panthers. So as you guys can see, and I ain't even got to Green Bay yet. Green Bay has the worst offense in 2 weeks. First ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. They scored an average of 15 points. That's down there with the Colts. The Colts won. Colts were the worst offense in the league for a month. The last 2 games, 14 points a game. In this league where the quarterbacks are in baby wrap, bubble wrap, might as well be in some kind of baby wrap, right? And you can't touch them. You can't do nothing to the receivers. You can't blast the receiver going over. There's helmet to helmet. There's everything. And they've had 15 points average the last 2 games. They were shut out. They were beat 27-10 at home. 27-10. And their leading receiver was a tight end, Robert Tonyan, who is coming back from like an ACL tear. When your leading receiver is a tight end coming back from an ACL tear, you're probably going to get beat 27-10 at home by a bunch of youngsters, young, hungry New York Jets team. And the Jets play well. I thought that they would keep it close. I didn't think they'd beat them 27-10. But he's in a major slump. He looks like a guy looks like he's about 38 years old, man. That's how old he is, you know. But, and, you know, they got to play Taylor Heineke next week. They may lose that game. You know, I'm not ready to write them off, but I'm just telling you how bad some of these teams look. Could Brady bounce back? Yes. Could Rodgers? The good news, if you're a Green Bay fan, is Elton Jenkins and Bakhtiari, they're getting their snap count up. Those are two guys that's come back from major injuries. Your right tackle, your left tackle. They'll eventually, your Christian Watson or whatever, that rookie they've got there, Romeo Dobbs, he's just a tick off. I got a feeling he's going to eventually take off there. Plus, Rodgers got a sore thumb. He's got a thumb injury. But Sauce Gardner is wearing the cheese hat, walking around taunting the Green Bay crowd. You know, Alan Lazard rips it off. I thought there was going to be a big fight there, but it was funny. But he was taunting. You know. But Green Bay, not looking good, man. Not looking good. So, Giants. Now, the Giants, like I said before I came on the program, I think I said this last week. The Giants are a team that subconsciously, and you say, well, they're professionals. No. Who was it? Tony Gonzalez, tight end. Former tight end, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all. Some would say, numbers-wise, he is the greatest of all time. Now, there's other tight ends. Somebody's going to pass Tony Gonzalez, but he says about 4% of players in the NFL, 4 little bitty percent, take their game serious. Rest of them, paycheck to paycheck, stay healthy, get yours. Don't worry about winning. Maybe he's a slight exaggeration. Maybe it's 10 out of the, 1,500 or something like that. Starters, 53, 5 times 32, about 1,700. Yeah, 1,700 players, something like that in the NFL. Count practice squad, everything. About 4%, maybe a little bit more, maybe 10, take their craft really serious. That's what he says. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is teams look at Daniel Jones. They look at the Giants are 26th against the run. 26th against the run. And the Ravens ran for 211 yards. If you just watch that Cowboy game and you just watch the Raven game, you would think that the Eagles would run for 211 yards against Dallas. No, they ran for 135, 136, and Dallas ran for 134, 2 yards difference. But the Ravens ran for, like I said, 211 yards against the Giants, and they still, this is the third time this has happened. They still couldn't hold on a 10-point fourth quarter lead. I feel bad for the Titan people. Tennessee week 1, they a 10-point halftime lead they couldn't hold. But the Ravens could not hold to a team with 3 receivers that they were down. 3 starting receivers, right? That goes to tell you about, in some cases, those receivers are overrated. But they had 3 receivers down. They come back from London. They come back from the UK. They should still have jet lag. London is 5 hours ahead. No, they're 6 hours ahead of the United States. They was practically a week in London. So they come home to a Baltimore Raven team filled with great defensive players. They come off a big win on Sunday night, and they couldn't hold that 10-point lead. And Lamar Jackson, you hear guys like Colin Cowherd, they just Lamar this and Lamar, admit you're wrong about Lamar. Well, I said he had a great game. He played within himself Sunday night last week, Cincinnati. Yes. What did he do Sunday? 71 right quarterback rating, one interception. And beat by his former, with a lot of injuries on defense too, but I think Leonard Williams was still out for the Giants. The Giants still beat him with their former defensive coordinator, Don Martindale. Now, remind you what I've been telling you guys for the past month about John Harbaugh. Don Martindale is the second coordinator in 4 years that's been fired from the Giants, or from the Ravens. That's the former Ravens coordinator. He got his new job with the Giants, and he just beat his former team, who fired him last year. We parted ways. Pickle says Leonard, he was back, and they still ran for 211 yards. Still ran for 211 on them. And that they still lost. That's my whole point. They still beat the Ravens. But Harbaugh, they have went through two defensive. Dean Pease, remember that? Dean Pease was supposedly, air quote, retired, and without any pushback, comes back to the Titans and beats the Ravens. Looks like the Broncos up 10-0. Yeah. Carlos looks like he may outpick me this week. The Ravens and beats them twice. So that's two coordinators in 5 years. You say, well, they're 3-3. They should be 6-0. They could be 2-4 if Cincinnati drops that 1 yard shovel pass. If that guy does a 1 yard. 1 yard. If they didn't get cute and score there, they should be 2-4. The Baltimore Ravens, folks. Let's not get crazy here. You know, they could be 2-4. And for the record, Cincinnati won. They won their game. So now they're back 3-3. So this idea that Harbaugh's safe, that remains to be seen. Luckily for Harbaugh, that Cleveland can't get out of their own way. They were beat by a rookie quarterback handily, 38-15 in Cleveland with Zappy. Sounds like a Zippo lighter, right? Or a racehorse. I can't remember the guy's first name. But that's the rookie there from the Patriots when they beat Cleveland. So Cleveland's like 2-4. But Cincinnati won. Cincinnati probably should have beat Dallas, but they didn't. They're 3-3. They went down and beat the Saints. Good comeback for them. But this is something that to keep an eye. It's still a storyline, guys. It really is. It's a storyline, and Bill Belichick has won 2 straight. And I want to say, by the way, they've got their fast draft pick, Traquan Smith, who I think he had a touchdown yesterday. He was being mocked by Les Snead and Sean McVay for that pick for one of their offensive linemen, and also sites mocked them for this Traquan Smith guy as well. And the Patriots have won 2 straight. And the Patriots may very well have a quarterback controversy of their own, a more realistic controversy. And I'm trying to see, I thought I screenshotted his, I've got a lot of stuff here on Dallas. Yeah, the Eagles are really playing well. They are really playing well. Bailey Zappi, that sounds like a racehorse, is the first rookie to win his first 2 career starts and record 100+ passer rating in those games. Only other player to do that was Hall of Famer Sonny Jurgensen Pickles in 1957. 57. So, the Patriots, when you write them, when you're well coached and have it together, you forget that most of these teams don't have it together. If Bill Belichick was coaching that team in the NFC West with all that talent, he'd be leading the NFC West right now. With those young players, he would be leading the NFC West. And I do feel vindicated. Also, Miami has lost 3 straight. Did I call that or what? Now, I thought they was going to come back. I thought they were going to play well Sunday. I picked that with Mediocre. I picked against Minnesota. Is Minnesota really that good? Really? Is Minnesota really that good? Or they just kind of caught people at the right place at the right time? The Bears is not a really big, that's not really a big one on your resume. A banged up Miami team. I thought they was going to run. I thought Miami was going to run all over them. They did okay, but their quarterback gets hurt. Bridgewater comes in. He plays like Bridgewater, and they get beat by a team from Minneapolis who come down there in that scorching heat, which you should have a huge advantage on in October. But I do feel vindicated so far. Miami look like world beaters. Now, not so much. Now they're 3-3, just like everybody else. Just when you wanted to write off Bill Belichick, and I've had my criticisms, bringing in a special teams coach and a defensive coordinator to work with your second-year quarterback, and then he gets a high ankle sprain, and you lost to Baltimore. You lost. Who else did they lose to? Miami. Miami beat them the opening season, and then they lost to Green Bay in overtime. But then they come around and win these 2 straight, and I think they're 3-3 as well. AL decider delayed. Oh, yeah, I just now got a Yankees and Guardians delayed again. Pickle says maybe it's Jared D. Bailey. Yeah. And maybe that race car driver or that horse racer, the jockey, what if Bailey was wearing Bailey Zappy? Or just call him Zappy. Rode by Jared D. Bailey. But this guy, with a former defensive coordinator and a special teams coach coaching him as a quarterback, they may keep this guy. Plus, it still may be a few weeks before Mac Jones comes back because he had a high ankle sprain. He couldn't even walk off the field when he got that injury. He had to limp off the field, man. So it's just a lot of crazy, a lot of up in the air. The cream will eventually rise to the top. I'm not ready to write off the Packers because they got that line in check, but I'm not ready to write off Tampa Bay. But if you're the Bucks, you're just going to have to try to force the run at some point. You're going to have a few drives to just run the football and be 3 and out just to get acclimated to have those players used to running the football. That's what I would do if I'm Tampa, because they are 32nd, guys, in rushing. So tomorrow we'll go over some college and we'll finish up. Well, we'll finish up the NFL. We'll go over college games. We'll talk about that in that Tennessee game, of course, Alabama game, and we'll go over the talk a little bit about Penn State and everything. Deion Sanders, I did read that maybe he'll listen to Power 5 jobs. I'll talk about that. Hoping he would stay at Jackson. I saw that interview he did on 60 Minutes. I recorded that. We'll talk about that. And mind you, folks, Wednesday, Kavarius Tears, an active player with the University of Tennessee baseball team. I'm going to ask him about the buzz that the football team is having around campus. Ask him a little bit about NIL name, image, and likeness, because his mom told me that his roommate last year is getting all kinds of crazy endorsements because he was playing really well, like a few $100,000 or something like that. I just like to get, so you're going to hear some big time stories of what this first really generation of NIL, this first real class of NIL. So I think that's going to be interesting. That will be on Wednesday. It won't be tomorrow. That will be on Wednesday. And I'm sure I missed a few stories here. We'll talk about this game now. That may hold up for Denver. They're up 10-0. But coming into that game, they had the fewest touchdowns in NFL at 6. But I do think that teams can bounce out. They can snap out of this slump. Look at the Colts. They won again. The Colts were shut out in week 2, okay? And Tennessee went up there and beat them. And they had a tie. I want to say they had a tie in week 1. And now they've beaten Denver. They've beaten Kansas City. And then they beat the team who shut them out a few weeks ago, the Jacksonville. So now they're 3-2 and 1. They have one tie. So, and then they got a big game coming up this week with, I want to say, with Tennessee. Tennessee's off of bye week, the Titans. So it's the whole world can change in just a win. You know, a good week of practice with this mediocre league, the whole world can change in just 1 week. It's a week-to-week league, Pickles. Any given Sunday. If you guys like the show, share the show. I will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Time, same place, same time, here on Sports Scope.